So, I had big plans for this Imbolc. I had so many things I was planning on doing. I wanted to go out into nature. I wanted to do some videos out in woodlands. I wanted to go and get some spring water from a local spring. I had plans, right? The problem with British weather is it doesn't like it when you have plans. We are currently in another storm. I think this one is called Storm Aisha, something like that. And we've been warned of 90-mile-an-hour winds. We've been told that there might be hurricanes and or tornadoes. Can never remember which one it actually is. And to stay away from high trees, or just trees in general, as well as the coast, because you might get washed out to sea. And we've also been warned to stay away from windows because they might explode. So, all of my plans scuppered, instantly gone. So we're just going to have a really nice, chilled, relaxed Imbolc. And so I'm sitting, I've got a vanilla soy milk cookie cream hot chocolate. Honestly, that's a lot of words, but it tastes really, really good. And we are just going to have a nice, calm, relaxing, celebratory day. I am filming this considerably earlier than Imbolc actually is, because that's what you have to do when you film videos, but there is definitely something different going on. There's something that feels, I don't know, just there's a shift happening right now. And so it's a lot warmer this week, probably because of the storm, but also there just seems to be just an energetic change, and so it seems like the perfect time to start on some Sabbath celebrations. So if you are new here, hello, my name is Hearth. I am a practicing witch and also a pagan, and I follow the Wheel of the Year celebrations, which include Imbolc, which is the one we're celebrating today. I have done videos in the past on this celebration if you want to learn more about what it is and how you can celebrate it, but today we're just going to enjoy being inside. I've got the fire on in the other room, and I've got some workings going. The altar is done, and I'm just very, very happy and relaxed with it. So the first thing I wanted to do was make this hot chocolate, but I did have to wait till the end, otherwise I knew I was going to get some herbs in it, I was going to get some incense in it, I was going to get some dust in it, because we did a proper spring clean. But after the spring clean, I set about working on my altar space. Now, my altar is one space that I love adapting as the seasons go on. I really enjoy watching it change as the Sabbats come and go, and I've been feeling my Yule altar just wasn't quite right. It was too Christmas adjacent, and it really doesn't feel like that anymore. There's definitely something shifting, and so I wanted to replicate that. So, over the past few days, I've been working on a new art piece to go on the altar. Unless otherwise stated, the art on the altar is typically stuff that I've done to simply represent how I resonate with each of the Sabbats. And this one, we've got Glastonbury Tor with the sun behind it, we've got a Brigid's cross, we've got some candles, everything that I just love about this Sabbat season. Now, I did cleanse the altar beforehand, and then I used a new spray that I've got from Sons of Asgard just to really separate that space, delineate it, make it a little bit more magical. And then we set about adding things onto that altar. My flowers are back, which I'm so happy about. I really missed having them on the altar, but it just didn't feel appropriate in the latter half of last year. I've also got one of my goddess statues out, specifically the gold statue, and I've switched it out for an entirely new crystal ball. This is one I didn't even know I had, but apparently it's been in my collection for like a decade because I found it in a box of really old stuff, and it is, I believe, a yellow calcite sphere, but don't quote me on that because it's been so long I don't actually remember. I'm pretty certain that it isn't citrine because it just doesn't look like citrine in person, and it does have that kind of reflective sheen of calcite, so I suspect it is yellow calcite, but do let me know if you've got any other opinions. On the altar, I've also got out one of my new cards. These cards are from Sons of Asgard. You'll notice quite a lot of things are because I just got a whole bunch of new stuff a few months ago. And these are their Sabbat cards designed specifically for altar spaces. And so I just had to add one onto this altar. And the Imbolc card was just so vibrant and so beautiful. So that's going on the space, along with some Avalon incense. Now, I find I don't like burning incense inside too much. I will do stick incense, but when it comes to loose incense, I tend tend to enjoy warming it instead of burning it. So I have an oil or wax warmer, and then on top of it I have an empty tea light holder, which is just a burned out tea light, and then in that I have put the incense so that it warms and simmers without actively burning. It means that I don't have to worry about my fire alarms, but I still do get some of that fragrance around my space, which is really what I was after. I've then also got my hearth doll, which lives on all of my altars, as well as a little Brigid candle, which will eventually be burning on my Brigid altar, but we'll get to that in a minute. All in all, this altar is pretty simplistic. I did dot around a few crystals, specifically some smoky citrine that I feel really resonates with this time of year, and I wanted to keep it mostly clear. Because this central space is where I do most of my active workings, I really don't want there to be too much clutter in the middle so that I'm not able to effectively do my active spells and rituals. Generally though, I'm really happy with this, and already I have a working sitting on the altar ready to go, so that when it's time I can light it and allow it to fill my space with energy. Chocolate break before it goes cold. Now that is just one of my altars. This is my working altar, the one that I will use for all of my different spells, rituals, even divination will be done here. Well, for the most part. You'll see what I mean when we get to it. But I do also have other altars. I have an altar for Ceridwen. I also have an altar for Brigid. And given that Imbolc is the Sabbath of celebration for Bride, for Brigid, I really wanted to do some work on her altar. Specifically, I wanted to clean it all off and start it afresh. This altar has become kind of lost in a sea of things. I don't have that much storage in this house, and so I find that the base of this altar tends to just be surrounded with stuff. Lighting and tripods and battery chargers and all the stuff that I use on a weekly basis for my videos tends to just get crammed up that corner, and so you can't really work with the altar all that much. Even though I don't work with it, however, I would still like it to be fresh and renewed if and when I choose to work with her directly. I can work with her in other spaces within my life, but the Brigid altar is really specifically for offering and veneration of the goddess. This altar space is one of my oldest areas in this house. It was one of the first things I ever set up when I moved in, and it's not changed all that much from there on. So I have a bell that I use for gentle, delicate cleansing, but I felt for this I needed something just a little bit stronger, so I am going to be using my altar besom for this just to really help cleanse away any dust and unwanted energy. For the most part, everything will be going back exactly where it came from because I did really enjoy it being there, but I'm still undecided as to whether or not I like the black altar cloth, so let me know whether you prefer it or not. I think I really need to change it for something lighter and brighter to fit Brigid just a little bit better, but this is the only size cloth I have that fits, so let me know if you think I should just keep the wooden shelf or if I should have the black cloth. I'm not sure. Either way, the altar is a really beautiful space within this room. It's a focal point, one of many within this room. I tend to have things be very intense. Minimalism is not my thing. You might have noticed, everything is everywhere. Maximalism is key. If I could, I'd have even more stuff on the walls, and keep an eye out because more stuff is coming to the walls really soon. I'm very excited. So this space is just one of the many focal points, and I really wanted to keep it looking nice. When it was all cleaned off and done, I then set about lighting an offering candle for Brigid. These are the goddess candles that I sell on the website. We make them from scratch from beeswax, and I really enjoy using them as offerings. I'll put a little petition inside her goddess statue to represent the things I would love to manifest in the coming weeks and months, and then I will dress an offering candle with Brigid oil and then place it safely on the altar so it can burn down. Because these are small candles, they only take a few hours at most to burn, and so it allows me to get on with some editing as well as giving an offering to one of my goddesses. Now Brigid is going to be a focal point for a lot of the workings in this video because she is my matron goddess as well as being the goddess of the Sabbath of Imbolc, and so the next working I decided to do is something that I adapted from another resource. I will leave it linked in the description box. I believe that this resource is actually adapted from a different resource, so I'm going to try and link everything if I can, but I wanted to do a little verbal candle working, something that surprisingly I don't do all that much. I do a lot of candle spells, but most of the time they are non-verbal, more energy focused. This was very much more of an offering to the season, a calling forward of new energy, and a beckoning for the goddess Brigid. This working involved 4 tea lights. These were ideally meant to be placed in a circle around you, but fire safety is always the most important. I have a rug and I really don't want to set it on fire, so instead I decided to put the 4 candles laid out in a row before me. These candles are going to represent that fiery energy of the sun that is returning slowly but surely as the seasons move forwards, as well as the power of the fiery hearth, a representation for the goddess Brigid. This working is designed to represent the things and the energies that are coming forwards as a blessing, a thanks, and also a request to the energies around to aid in cleansing and bringing in new opportunities, creativity, and growth. This working can be highly adapted. As you go on lighting each individual candle, the wording that you choose may shift and change, but ultimately it is both an offering, a request, and a veneration for the energies of this time of year, which is something I usually don't do. Surprisingly, I tend to stick to larger workings that take several days, weeks, even months to complete. Hell, I even have a working that I still haven't finished from last January, which was such a long, expansive working that sometimes it went months without even being lit. It's a candle that I'm still working my way through, and so candles that only last for 4 hours are kind of a novelty for me. I don't typically work with them, and so this was a really refreshing working. You can adapt this entirely to suit your intentions, but the wording I've used is different from the original article, which is probably different again from the original resource, so just adapt it and feel the need to mix and match, or look back through different options and see which one resonates most with you. I'm taking some of my Brigid oil. This is an oil I've used for years for working with Brigid, and given that Imbolc is Bride's Festival, I figured it was appropriate to use a Brigid oil. So I'm just going to put like a little bit on my finger, and then I'm going around each candle. Lid can go back on. And that's going there. Now, I would, if I wasn't recording this, have my fire on. This is my fire, because I am a hearth witch after all. I'm going to do things in front of a hearth fire, except it makes an absolute racket, and so I figured I probably shouldn't do it for this working, simply because it's going to be a pain in the ass to listen to. Even though we are still in winter, there is new life stirring in the darkness. I call upon the healing power of the sun and the power of Brigid to spark new life in the depths of darkest winter. Fire, wisdom, and inspiration will grow as the strength of the sun grows, just as new spring life will burst into bloom with the flowers in a few months' time. I ask these flames to aid in leading me from the old to the new, as the life of the earth returns slowly. May Brigid and the power of the sun grant me new inspiration, growth, and development at this time. I have a few more specific workings that I want to do around the Sabbath season, one of which is a candle specifically dedicated as an offering to Brigid. Now, although I do plan on burning a Brigid candle on my Brigid altar, that is specifically to solidify my relationship with the goddess as I work with her. This Brigid candle is designed to bring in that energy and act as veneration and offering to her collectively, all of the facets of Brigid. She is considered by many a triple goddess. Others consider her to be one of 3 sisters, each representing something different in life. She's a goddess of blacksmithing, of poetry, as well as a goddess of healing and the hearth. She has a wide variety of associations that many people represent as being different facets of her, or different goddesses by the same name being 3 sisters. So in this working, I wanted to bring all of that together as an offering to the goddess as a whole, not just the aspects of the goddess that I personally work with. The candle that we're using is another one that's made of beeswax. If you don't feel comfortable using beeswax, you can use other things, but for me, beeswax is my default go-to when it goes to candle magic, and we make a lot of the beeswax candles ourselves, this one included. This is a new candle that we've made specifically for me to use it in this video, and I'm not sure whether it's something we'll continue doing, but if you do like this candle, feel free to let me know and it might become a permanent addition on my website. This candle is designed to represent that goddess, and yellow is really symbolic, not only because it is the colour of natural beeswax, but also because it relates to the Sabbath season of Imbolc, as well as to the fiery, powerful energy of Brigid. So typically I will work with Brigid on my Brigid altar, but for the purposes of Imbolc, I like expanding my practice out beyond just that altar space to work with Brigid in my everyday working area. And this altar truly is my everyday working area. It's where all of my workings come to fruition, and so it's where this working is going to take place. As you can see, I have a very damaged lid off a candle that I'm going to be using to protect the base, which is essentially my beautiful apothecary cabinet, and I really don't want to get it damaged because I'm using a beeswax candle. Now this candle is one that my dad specially made. Honestly, he spent his time this morning making this and it's absolutely beautiful. And this is going to be used to represent Brigid, so that will be sitting right there because beeswax has a tendency to spread a lot. When it melts, it doesn't behave like paraffin, which will burn up really quickly. Instead, it has a tendency to leave behind a lot of spell remains, which are incredibly useful for doing readings off, but it isn't always safe to be using them straight on a surface because it will melt and spread everywhere. So you've got to take that into consideration. For the purpose of this, I'm using this little tray, but I might increase the size of it to a small plate if I feel like I need to. I'm also going to be using some of the Brigid oil that I've used in other workings this Sabbath. This is one I've been shipping away at for a long time, and even small bottles of oil like this will last a considerable amount of time if you use them sparingly. So that is going to be going on the candle as a dressing. Once the candle has been dressed with oil, I'm then going to be adding on one particular solar herb, and that is chamomile, more specifically chamomile powder. For me, this really resonates with the solar energy of this time of year. We are celebrating the return of that energy, even if it does seem really incredibly gradual. And so I really resonate well with chamomile, plus it is a plant that just smells absolutely amazing. This may seem counterintuitive, but I just felt the need to use the candles, like the little tea lights that I'd used in the Brigid ritual, just to add a little bit extra intention and energy into it. Just like that. Now, just a note for anyone who's curious, if you aren't able to celebrate on the date of the Sabbath, whether it's because you are low on energy, you're in a lot of discomfort or pain, you don't have the time, you have other things that are your main priority on that given day, you are able to celebrate at other times as well. For me, I always refer to the Sabbaths as seasons. Not seasons to the extent of spring, summer, autumn, or winter, but mostly as seasons of energy. this time of year the energy is shifting, and we can feel that all the way up to the date of the Sabbath and for some time afterwards as well. If you don't want to, or you aren't able to celebrate on the Sabbath itself, you can choose to celebrate around it and still have very powerful energy. Another working I'm planning on doing around the Sabbath season is a prosperity working. Now, I actually made some other candles for this as well. As you can see, around Imbolc, candle magic is a really big emphasis for me. It's my favorite kind of magic to start off with, but it's also something that I take a lot of comfort in around this time of year. At this point, I'm not sure whether this working is going to be one that I record or one that I simply carry out for myself, but either way, if I don't show it, just know that this kind of working is something that I am going to be doing, and if you're interested, you can do something similar for yourself for abundance and prosperity, especially financial prosperity. The hot chocolate is good, so I'm happy. As always, I also did some divination for the Sabbath season. Specifically, I'm working with my Rider-Waite-Smith deck and a new deck that I've got whose name has completely eluded me. If I can remember, I'll put it on the screen. It's so new, I've forgotten what it's called. This time of year is really great for doing Sabbath readings. I enjoy it because it does give a concise amount of time. It's not so close that you have to constantly be doing readings again and again and again, and it's not so far away that things are going to drastically change. So I tend to do my readings from one Sabbath to the next. This particular reading is one for all of my viewers. I'm not sure if I'm going to include it in this video, but if I don't, it will be in a Patreon video specifically so that you can check out what the reading holds in store for you if that's something that you are interested in. I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, so I might leave it out of this video, but who knows, I might be daring and put it in instead. So this is the reading for all of my viewers this Imbolc. This is something I like doing every single Sabbath, even if I don't always show it. So the first 4 cards on this side are from the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. The second is from the Healing Waters Oracle. Now, despite Imbolc being a very fiery, heavy festival, I also really enjoy the watery aspect of it, especially when we're looking at water spirits, water deities, and also the deities and spirits of especially springs, like freshwater springs. And that was part of what I wanted to do this Sabbath, and I ended up just not being able to do it, so I'm bringing it through in the use of this deck. So I read both direct cards and reversals, and so that makes really diverse readings. And from what I can see so far, I'm liking what I'm seeing. Definitely has a lot of promise for a lot of people. Can you hear the storm raging outside? It is so loud, so I apologize if you can hear it. The first card that we've got is the High Priestess. Now, this is a beautiful card to receive, and usually she represents intuition and a requirement to be a mediator in situations, to be the active voice of change, of progress, and of standing your ground and following your gut instinct. This might be a symbol that you aren't following your gut instinct and you really need to start working on it, or perhaps you are in an in-between. You're in a limbo phase and you really need to be starting to make active decisions, be an active voice in your own situation, rather than allowing other people to take control, which can be really easy and it can feel a lot more comfortable. So for me, she's a representation of perhaps spiritual development, spiritual growth, meditation, intuition, divination, all of these aspects of your craft that you might want to work on at this time of year. Now, next up, we have this card. This is the Six of Swords reversed. Now, typically, this card, when it's in its direct state, would represent sailing towards calmer waters, better futures, and past emotional turmoil. However, because it is reversed, it might mean that there's more going on here that you need to be working through. You might feel quite stagnant, things are not progressing in the way that you want, and so it's a good sign that you need to let go of things that are holding you back. This ties very nicely in with the High Priestess card, who represents that intuitive energy that you need to be following. So perhaps with these two cards together, it represents the fact that you are not listening to your High Priestess, you're not listening to your intuition, and because of that, you are essentially stagnating in this situation that you are trapped within. Now, that doesn't necessarily have to be something really extreme, it can be something really small and minor, but there is something here where you are holding yourself back from the things that you want to progress on to do. And so it's really time to be working with this High Priestess energy to allow ourselves to draw a line in the sand under things that we want to change so that we can progress forward and we aren't being held back by our past. Now, in this reading, the High Priestess card is really, for me, the focal point. This is the archetypal energy that we're going to be seeing throughout the rest of this reading. So all the cards are going to relate back to the High Priestess. She's really, really significant, and that, regardless of how you identify, is going to be a significant aspect of your life. Now, you might already feel that High Priestess energy in your life. You might not, but it's worth checking out what she's associated with to see if it will help you in progressing forwards. Next up, we have the Ace of Cups. Now, the Cups for me is a highly emotional card. It's the water element. It is very deeply connected to your emotions and to that watery energy. Now, this card is a really beautiful one. We can see the hand emerging out of clouds. We are getting past the things that we were struggling with, the emotional turmoil and difficulties. So whatever it is that you were just doing with the High Priestess in regards to that situation is helping, and it's definitely bringing out the better side of your emotions. What is to be taken into consideration here, though, is that in order to maintain this state of emotional calm, we have to be letting go of the things that have affected us in the past, and that can be incredibly difficult. But if you can manage it, this card represents positive things for the future. And then the final card from the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, we have the Tower reversed. Now, this is a card that so many people are scared of getting. It is all about sudden, dramatic change. Everything that you've built up in your life is going to come crashing down. However, this is reversed. And so this is about averting and avoiding change. All of the steps that you've taken are heading towards the goal of avoiding something really negative in your life. And that avoidance isn't necessarily a bad thing. It isn't like we're avoiding the inevitable. Instead, we are recognizing that change is required in a certain aspect of our lives. And by acting upon that change, we're able to avert something that was likely an inevitable if things didn't occur. And so I really like how this merges together with all of it. And ultimately, it does tie back to this High Priestess energy. She's all about using that intuition, noticing when something isn't right. And if there's something in your gut that just feels viscerally, undeniably wrong, it's time to push through the emotional turmoil and end up, hopefully, in a state where you feel at peace and calm and relaxed, and you've avoided what may well have been quite a negative outcome. And finally, we have this card. This is the Water Codes card. It represents ancient wisdom and the intelligence within you. And for me, this card is very, very similar to the High Priestess card. They both represent that intuitive energy, that underlying knowledge and wisdom about something. It's essentially representing that gut instinct that you might be having. And even if everyone in your life is telling you that you should ignore that, it could be worth taking a deep dive into it and figuring out the cause. This is what these cards represent. It's about following that gut instinct that keeps you awake at night, that stops you from feeling 100% comfortable. Follow it, see where it goes. You don't have to act upon it, but it's worth exploring to try to figure out where that sensation is coming from. Alongside all of this, I'm doing my spring cleaning. This can include just standard cleaning, making sure that your kitchen is clean, your bathroom is clean, changing your bedding, opening up the windows when there's not a storm raging outside, and just generally sure that things are sparkling clean. Spring cleaning, however, can also involve some magical associations as well, including cleansing unwanted energy out. It can be a great time to do some house cleansing. I will leave those videos down in the description box and also up in the little eye thing in the top corner. That's really great. You can do it with smoke, you can do it with floor washes, surface washes, you can do it with sound, sprays. There's so many different ways that you can do it, and now is a wonderful time to get that process going. It's also a great time to renew your protections, as well as removing things from your life that you are no longer using. It's a great time of year to start new things off, whether you're looking to get a new book on a different subject or you want to clear out the old and replace it with new. Your trash could be someone else's treasure, and so it's really worth, if you've got things lying around that you have not touched in years, that maybe they might be better suited with someone who is going to love and cherish them and really make the most out of that item that you've got. So this is your perfect time of year to be doing that. If clearing out your wardrobe or clearing out your spare room or that drawer, I know everyone's got one of those drawers, the drawer where everything goes when you don't know what else to do with it. Now is a great time to be clearing that out. The other things that I enjoy doing, obviously when it is safe to do so, is to go out into nature. One of my plans was to go and get some spring water from a local spring. This time of year, although it is associated with fiery energy, is also about that kind of fresh start, new beginnings, new growth, new life. And so for me, the spring is a really good representation of this. And at this time of year, people would often give offerings to the spring or well deities and spirits, and that may well be something that you want to start doing. Getting out into nature is also a wonderful thing to do, but of course, please only do so safely. There's a reason why this video has involved, well, hot chocolate instead of spring water, and that's because it's been recommended that it's not safe to go and stand under tall trees, and that's exactly where this spring is. If you feel uncomfortable, don't do it. There's plenty of other ways you can bring the outside in, whether that is watching a documentary about nature, or maybe have an ambient video on that is a forest with beautiful music. There's lots of ways to bring the outside in. And then the last thing I'm doing for this Sabbath season is to wear something that makes me feel special, something that I would normally only wear on a special occasion. This is something I think a lot of people dismiss. You don't have to be going somewhere really fancy or doing something really special to wear the things that make you feel super special. If you want to wear your cloak on the Sabbath day instead of having to wear it only when you go to outdoor rituals, then wear it. If you've got a beautiful dress that you never ever wear and really want to wear it more, make that Sabbath day the special occasion where you wear it. This is why I'm wearing this today. It's something that I normally wouldn't wear in my day-to-day life, but it makes me feel really magical and really special, and so I wanted to wear it. The Sabbaths are celebration days, much like how Christmas and Easter are celebration days to other people in different traditions. And if you would wear your special clothes on Christmas Day when you're having a really special occasion, then the same can also be true for the Sabbaths. If you keep all of your special items locked away for only a few days out of the year, then you're not making the most out of them. If it makes you feel beautiful, if it makes you feel magical, if it makes you feel powerful, then the Sabbath days are a great time to make the most out of it and just feel whimsical. Dress up if you want, wear your fanciest gear, the things that you would only wear to outdoor festivals and gatherings. Make the most out of it and just enjoy the Sabbath, even if you are stuck inside with hot chocolate, which I'll be honest doesn't sound that bad of a day, or if you are planning on doing something really special. I hope you have an amazing Imbolc. Let me know what you are doing this Sabbath season. I would absolutely love to know, and it will help inspire other people as well. If you enjoy the Sabbath videos, feel free to give it a like. It means a lot to me. If you've got any questions or comments, feel free to post it in the comment section. And if you do enjoy the magical content on this channel or in this video, feel free to hit subscribe. Feel free to hit subscribe. That's a lot of words. I try to post magical content every single week. So with that being said, if you've got this far in the video, feel free to leave me some flower emojis and I will try to like as many of them as I can. Do have an amazing Sabbath. Do stay safe. Have a marvelous magical day and week and month. And I will see you in the next video. Bye! Ooh, it's now chalky milk because it's gone cold because I've just been holding it like this the entire video. It's because it was warm and I was like a lizard, like leeching heat out of it, and now it's just kind of cold, and it could just have looked really weird, me just holding a mug with chocolate powder all round the edge. It's bloomin' lovely though, absolutely delicious. Whittard and Chelsea, you did a good job with that hot chocolate. It was really, really nice. This is dying. Have you seen this? Like, I also took all the crystals off it because I needed to use them. Okay. Whew. I'm gonna go stick the oven on. Oh, did you see that? It's really struggling. Are you okay? I don't think it's okay. I think we might be witnessing the last breaths of a set of batteries. You've done me good, batteries. They have lasted for a really, really long time, but I think this might be a sign. Yeah. This is a sign. You've done well. Oh. Yep. Definitely need to change them. Okay. Yeah, I put my makeup on earlier before I started filming anything because you can always see my reflection in all of the picture frames. I was like, oh, I would love to look nice in the reflections in the picture frames because sometimes I have to position myself just right so you don't see the goblin. as they're like doing the altar. I look like a little gremlin. And so I was like, I'm going to do my makeup early. I'm going to do it before I get started. And then I quickly realized it's like hours until I film the actual video. I hope I'm not a shiny mess. So I can only hope that it didn't turn out like that. So I'm going to sit here and we're just going to relax while the rain pelts the window behind me. And the wind makes me alarmed that some of my roof tiles might go missing. It happens every year. At least a few roof tiles come off because I live in an old house, but it's fixable. It's fixable. Just have to hope I don't spring a leak in the process. I almost feel like I'm doing a bedtime story video. You know those ones that like Henry Cavill and a whole bunch of other people have done? This chapter examines the case of the author's ancestor, Susanna Selleck née Bolt, and her attackers. It also looks at belief in the efficiency of scratching a witch as portrayed in historic literature from the United Kingdom as far back as the 16th century, and endeavours to seek an understanding as to why the belief persisted. This book is so cool, by the way. It's all about like this guy's story of like his ancestors. But anyway, alas, we're not doing bedtime stories, so I'm just gonna read inside my head because I'm not a fast reader. But I'm a lot faster when I'm not reading out loud. Oh, goodness. Susanna Selleck, by this time, that being 1838, was an elderly widow and was attacked at least twice under the belief by the attackers that she was a witch. It is clear from the following reports that the attackers were very sure in their own minds that this was the case and had put considerable effort into achieving their desired results. Fortunately for Susanna, the magistrates took a dim view of such attacks and were somewhat experienced in dealing with similar assaults in the area. By now, in the mid-19th century, witchcraft was deemed to be a ridiculous superstition, largely persisting among the agricultural classes. In the previous century, Susanna perhaps would not have found the magistrates quite so supportive. But alas, I need to film other videos. So that will have to wait for later.